Hello, everyone. Welcome to the True You podcast. Today I've got Heidi Shannon here. We're in Bali at the Chill House, which is a yoga place, is it?
Yeah, it's a little boutique yoga resort.
Awesome, yeah. So Heidi was one of the guest speakers at the Elevate retreat we had this week, with Joel and Emil.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. Your story was incredible as well, and like the work you do, just really, I was just like, man, people need to hear this. So I'm really stoked to have you here today.
I know. Even though it's about 40 degrees.
Oh yeah, man, I've been sweating all day. I did CrossFit this morning, and it just that's why I'm wearing a singlet. I was going to wear a shirt, but it sucked.
Can't do it.
So yeah, I just really thought what you're talking about, you help people with depression or people on sort of the brink of ending their lives, or and you take them on retreats. That's right. Yeah.
Correct. So we started 10 years ago,
Yeah.
retreats.
Cool.
Now I do one-on-ones. I kind of pick and choose. I used to have 2 centers, but I burnt out.
Ah, okay.
So you can't help people with burnout
Yeah.
when you're burnt out. So yeah, essentially it all came about because in my early 20s I had a breakdown myself. I was overworked. I overworked myself. I treated my body with a lot of disrespect. I was essentially living outside my body.
Yeah.
So I lived from here, as
Yep.
you do, I guess in your early 20s. And yeah, I had my goals of where I wanted to go, and I was stubborn, and you couldn't stop me from getting there. And then I literally fell over. And there were a lot of warning signs before that.
Yeah.
I was a dancer growing up, and I was a dancer when I left school. I'd let that go, so my only sort of freedom and passion was gone.
Yeah.
My diet was shocking. I barely slept. And yeah, I woke up one day, I had an altercation with someone that I was working with. I was probably earning more money then than I do now. That's
Oh, wow.
I was gunning it as a business consultant, but I was punching above my weight as well. So had an altercation with someone I was working with, had a massive panic attack, didn't know what it was. Was probably very anxious leading up to that. Probably always was, and didn't understand what it was. So it's really interesting with anxiety is that a lot of people have it and don't understand that that's what that is.
I can relate to that because I used to have this tightness in my chest right through teenage, through university. And it was only till it was gone that I actually knew it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, even with like a low riding depression that, like we were just talking about when you're working on my body, it's amazing how much pain that we can actually just continue to live with. It's like, oh yeah, I've had that neck issue for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like one of the girls on retreat this week, she has had headaches for 11 years.
Wow.
Every day.
Yeah.
And that's how used to, I guess, living, as Chris would say from the event, as a mediocre version of ourselves. And so when I went on this journey to recover my own health, because I'm stubborn and I like to do things myself, I tried. I did go and see a GP. I did go and see a psychologist. The system didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I was offered a pill, and I literally remember the feeling that I had of being so agoraphobic that I couldn't leave the house. I had chronic kidney infections. I had tonsillitis, so I couldn't speak. So my whole body was shutting down. And I just remember looking at this little pill and thinking, that is not going to fix all of this. It's just not. And I remember thinking it was ridiculous. And I also remember the judgment and the lack of understanding and thinking that I was crazy, and then seeing a psychologist and getting more judgment, more lack of understanding. And thank God, it's 20 years ago. The industry's changed quite a lot since then, but in my opinion, not enough.
Yeah.
So I wandered into a little Chinese tea shop.
Okay. Yeah.
And to get some kind of calming tea, my friend took me in, and a little Chinese medicine man came from out the back, just took one look at me and said, "Come with me." And that was it. That was the beginning of the journey. But it's really funny because the whole time that I was working as a business consultant and predominantly in the hospitality game. I used to always say to myself, just want to work in the natural health industry. Just want to work in the natural health industry. So this is sometimes where we make that shift with whatever our soul is kind of like yearning for, that we're pretending not to know sometimes. And for me, I couldn't logically see how I was going to make that shift. I didn't want to give up the money to go and study and to go on that journey, but life just reality slapped me so hard. I got thrown from one industry to the other like overnight.
Wow.
I had to let go of all of my clients. I had to live with my parents, which for me was like, you know, going to jail, just having to be a baby again. They had to literally take care of me. It took almost a year of studying, changing my diet. And it wasn't really until I did a lot of kinesiology, I didn't actually do coaching, because coaching then didn't exist. There was a lot of, say, my mum was just, I grew up with, my mum's, you know, loves personal development. So I grew up to like Wayne Dyer and, you know, all of these kind of great leaders. So I had a lot of that to read, but there wasn't, back then, it's not like you could just, there wasn't a coach. 20 years ago, there really wasn't where I came from. There were counsellors. And then coaches, no.
Yeah, true.
So after this whole experience, retreat was obviously born. So I wanted to provide a space where people could go, where we would do everything all at once. So because if you're in that state, if you are on the brink, even if you're just busy and your health's out of alignment, or you know that the stress is mounting, if we're already busy, to then have a job which involves trying to figure out how to help yourself, which is like a job, and then you don't know, so you could go and see a naturopath, you could go and see a GP, you could go and see a counsellor, you know, and you have to trial different ones to see what's going to work. Then you have to figure out how to put the tools that they give you, if they give you tools, in the right order at the right time. It's too hard. And that's why the whole mental health, what I call the 1950s mental health system, fails. It's literally what we were using in the 1950s. And we still have this perception that the mind and the body are disconnected, which we just, it's still, I find it really interesting that we're still at that point where we haven't fully developed this understanding that the way that I think and feel affects my physical health, and my physical health affects the way that I think and feel. So that was essentially the basis of what I wanted to do. And like the workshops that I delivered then, like this is 10 years ago, were so basic. Like it was very much, this is how stress works, this is what vitamins and minerals are in food. Like it was very basic. And then obviously we got right into gut health. More into biomedicine, more into neuroscience, and then my coaching skills developed over time from working with amazing counsellors and coaches that I'd bring in. Emil was one of them. So I had this opportunity to work with such a range of, you know, health practitioners, and we have a pressure cooker environment where people come in, they have to transform their behavior on the spot, because they can't go to a session and then go home and then go back to the same old habits that they had before. With us, it's like we have a microscope out and we're watching and observing behavior. So whatever they're learning that day in terms of self-transformation, they have to show up with that day. They have to show up with it. It's like, if we are doing presence, you are present. You are a present person, and you practice it until the end of the day, until you've got it. Do you know what I mean? So with us, the program was never about healing. It was about healing, but we just never told anyone we fully intended to completely and utterly radically change their life while they were with us. It's like, you're not only not going to be suicidal, whatever it looks like before, you're not doing that anymore. So, excuse me. So that's really what we were kind of doing. And then it exploded. And did really well. And it was started from nothing. It was just a concept of, to have a space where people could come and be together without judgment, and have everyone do the right thing at the right time in the right order.
Where do you do them?
We used to run in Australia, but we're predominantly now in Bali. And like I said, it's now, I prefer to work one-on-one. and I will pick and choose clients based on how thirsty they are for that experience, because I used to give a lot, and I look back now, obviously my daughter's come into the picture, and I look at what I used to be able to give, and I don't know how it was possible. So I'm really at a point where I love my other work. I work a lot in business development, helping other people build their brands based on the business experience that I've had of building multiple businesses. And I love working with corporates, because for me, I really had this drive that I had to make a difference with when it came to mental health and people's the experience that they were having with themselves on earth, essentially. And I really felt like I was running a race with that. And we spoke about this at the event with women, that we kind of feel like we're on a clock of like, we have to do this all by a certain age. We have to have a baby and career. And I was running that race. And then I kind of, after I shut the retreat center down and just decided to kind of, pull things back a little, for me, corporates is, if I want to make a dent, I have to get into where most people are, where people connect. And in my opinion, where a lot of the issues with balance begin is around work. So that's kind of, now I like to combine the business with the mental health, because I know it sounds like they're completely separate, but they're not. Because when I originally got in, a lot of people with, when I was a business consultant, they would never come to me with their business problems. They'd come with their health problems or their relationship problems. And what was stopping the business from flourishing was a lack of vision, or the self-worth issue that they had within themselves, or, it was never the business, really. So that's kind of how I got into it. And it's funny, I've kind of gone all the way down that rabbit hole, and now I'm back in the business seat. So I still like to do both.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, even myself, I started this new podcast, but it was only once I did the mind stuff, and I most people are after those technical aspects of how do I do it. Give me a plan.
And you would have seen it at the event. You would have seen everyone kind of going, and some of the people, because I was the breakdown coach, so anyone who needs to leave the room and have a breakdown gets me. So like they'll cry outside going, but I thought I was coming to work on my business. And I'm like, you are. This is how we do it. Like you have to kind of go through this if you want to be able to scale, or people end up, I think people end up building businesses that they don't love. They're doing it because they think they have to.
Yeah.
Or they try and scale and grow or set goals for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So this is where it's really interesting tapping into here and even health, for people to be able to serve in the best possible way that they can. It just makes sense. Like if your entire company, if you had a company of 500 people and every single person in that company is in their genius and they like themselves and they're healthy, holy shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that, the force behind that. And if the guy at the top has a vision and brings everyone into that, it's just like, it gives me goosebumps.
I know.
It's like,
I'm just thinking of like that. I want to build something.
Yeah,
like
and
that,
imagine all the different companies if everyone operated like that. But it's, imagine if every individual operated from that level of like, I like myself.
Yeah.
I can actually get to a point where I like myself. I recognize my genius and I want to serve with it. And I have the energy to do so because of the way I've worked with my body.
Yeah.
And that's still why I like using both the personal and the health side, but in business, because I think it's where that needs to go. And maybe now we're at a point with mental health in business and what it costs them. Because I used to have a company and I had 40 employees, and if someone burnt out, it cost me a lot of money to replace them.
Yeah.
And a lot of time in training. So, I think we're at a point with mental health in society in general, for so many reasons that it would take hours to go into, but where it's actually going to start costing us a lot, from a government
every
perspective.
Single way. Oh, yeah.
And, in businesses. But so, I think they're ready. I think the corporates are almost at that point where they're ready to kind of listen to a different approach instead of the rah-rah motivation.
Yeah.
So this is what's very much taught in business is like success, motivation. But it's not looking at what is the actual drivers for that
Yeah.
for each individual.
You know, I have this vision as well of having like a happy version of a hospital. You know?
Oh my god.
You know, like,
how amazing would it be?
because you go to a hospital, it's sterile, there's nothing, it smells yuck, it doesn't look good. No one really wants to be there. They say, I hate this place. I'm sure it makes them sick because I don't want to be there.
As well, the energy is like, it's really funny, you know, I was explaining to you, we were talking about body issues before with birth. And the reason my birth was so traumatic is that when I was at home, I would go into labor and I'd be fine. And I was like, leave me here. I can do it here. Leave me alone, which is not what I thought. I thought I'd be terrified. And I was like, fine. I was like in my zone. As soon as we get to the hospital, my labor would stop. And I undilated.
Oh, wow.
And it happened 3 times.
Wow.
So in the end, I was so exhausted, and this is where all the
Your
drama
body's telling
started.
you,
But my body, literally, in a hospital, was like, I'm not doing this here. And I should have listened because it ended
now you know.
now you know. Don't give birth in a hospital. No. It's really interesting. Like, where we go to heal is, there's unhealthy. It still blows me away.
Yeah.
There's unhealthy food. There's false lighting. There's no fresh air. Like, all the absolute basics of what we need to flourish as a human being are not present.
I think it should be fun.
Love.
I think when you're healing, it should be fun.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
And
it's interesting you say that, because we tried to do that on retreat. We tried to make it fun. And we got so ridiculed. A current affair in Australia tried to pick us up when we first opened, not just us, but a few others, like all these retreats, making big promises. We promised a genuine life-changing experience, and we delivered.
Yeah.
But we made that whole experience of healing pain and suffering normal, for starters. We're like, this is actually the state of all humans. It's just that you're being honest about it, and you're being open about it. And you've actually had the courage to put your hand up and come and do something like this, which most people wouldn't do. So it takes a lot of courage to look at yourself. You know, at Elevate, like with what we just did.
You gotta, like, you're walking into the fire, like all your deepest fears, you know, you just gotta go
out in the open for everybody to see. And I love that vulnerability. Like, I can work with people forever in that state. I just love it. I love the breakdown because I know what breakthroughs look like, and it was really interesting in the beginning because we were completely ridiculed for trying to make that a transformational experience. And even psychologists would ring us, or psychiatrists, and they would say, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? My family members didn't even know what I did. I never told anyone what I did.
Yeah.
No one in my family knew except my mother. Because I couldn't explain it, because I knew people. I got so sick of the what? You work with people with depression, but aren't you scared aren't you scared they're going to do this, and this? Like they were aliens or something? It was bizarre. Yeah. I was like, no, we just love them. We just give them lots of love and inspiration and health, and you can't go wrong if you put all of those things together.
Gosh.
But we were ridiculed. It was really interesting. And then those same psychologists, psychiatrists, as things started to change, and I think over time we realized it wasn't working, would then start referring to us. Referring to us. So, or coming to us.
So I was just thinking, I think they need to just come to
themselves.
So they know.
That's the next step. I'd love to train.
Oh, nice.
Train in that industry for sure.
Yeah.
And I did, I always used to consider maybe I should go and get a proper counselling degree or a psychology degree just to get the credibility. And then it was like, no.
No.
I'll just be me.
Exactly.
It works.
And when you feel like you're ready now, you are ready. Yeah. You don't need letters behind your name.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So
I mean, even with with what you've studied and now you're doing something completely different.
So I'm like, I was the first person with the work I do, contact care, to have a doctor in front of that I know of, and some people look at me and go, "Oh, it's so easy for you because you got doctor in front of your name," and I say, "No, if you're good, you can do it. You know, you're just going to believe in yourself." And my girlfriend, she's a personal trainer, but at the beginning, she does this work too. She felt that she wasn't good enough because the doctor name, she didn't have it. But now she's stepped into her power, and now she's doing just as good as work as anyone. You know?
Yeah.
So, don't have to wait till you get a degree or this or that. If you can do it.
Yeah,
you can do
I'm
it.
all about starting where you are.
Yeah.
You know, I think we spoke about that at Elevate. It's like you can go from that life today. I just did it with a client this morning. You know, and it's so funny watching her just constantly go back into story. When we go back into story and we rehash pain and then we rehash trauma and then we keep bringing it to the surface. And then she just kept doing this and then as soon as we got into action and we started designing, it is immediate. And her whole face started to change and obviously the tears go away and then she got really interested in what she was doing and then we were starting to design. Then she came up with all these ideas and I'm like, did you just see that? And she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, you can do that whenever you want. You have trained yourself to do this.
Yeah.
This is a training of the mind that you have taught yourself to stay because you get something out of it. I get to stay small and I get to play safe and I get to be a wallflower and you know what was at the core of that for her? She's so scared that if she steps into her power and she has to be intimate and connect with the world around her, specifically find a partner, she's got more to lose.
Yeah.
It's that old one.
And for me, it was like I found out this week. There's a fear of rejection. If I was to go and hang out with the people I want to hang out, I don't want to get rejected. So now
So when we did that allowing exercise,
no, that wasn't really.
that's not what you chose.
No, something else. Yeah.
Because it's interesting when you let the mind go there, and that's what I said to her. Okay, cool. You step out, you know. Because the thing is what I explained to her this morning about this.
Yeah.
So sometimes what our biggest fears are, you're actually inviting those scenarios into your life anyway. So her biggest fear was rejection.
Yeah.
And, you know, feeling everyone's got their I'm not good enough version of a story, but hers was specifically like, I don't want to be put down by others or I don't want to be rejected and think for people to think that I'm wrong. But she's created all these relationships in her life where that's happening anyway. I'm like, but you're living it already. You're living your worst fear.
Yep.
You're in it.
Yep.
This is as bad as it can get. Like, how much more pain do you want? You know, rather than getting over to that side and going like, yeah, I'm going to step into my power.
Well, it's also like proving that your story's right.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm right because this is happening.
And that's where the payoff comes in, where it's like, cool, okay, now, I'm getting something out of this.
I told you so.
Yeah, I get to reinforce this story of misery because I get to say, yes, I knew it. I knew the world was against me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think the human mind is really, really incredibly interesting. And I think it was something that I brought up at Elevate as well, is that it's not something that we're taught about. And, you know, we're not taught at school what are thoughts, what is my mind, what are the different aspects to the mind, what is consciousness, what is subconsciousness, what is higher consciousness, what is a thought, does a thought have power over me, is my mind leading me, am I leading it? Like we don't discuss these things, and then we grow up being led around by that to the point where it can get us to the point where we have lost so much faith and belief in ourselves, even without traumas from an external source, to believe that it's not worth staying for. And to me, that was crazy, and that's what retreat was about. It was like, this is craziness, you know, that we are never taught about this. And I can work with people in their 60s and talk to them about their stories and what they say to themselves, and they've been saying to that same story to themselves for years, and they've never heard it, you know, and they've never been taught what to do with it.
Yeah.
So how do I transform my relationship to emotion? How do I transform my relationship Because we live in this world where we go, oh, I'll just replace the negative thought with a positive thought, or I'll make it go away. And it doesn't work. Or I'll stuff that emotion down, or I'll do something else with it, as opposed to how do I just be me, make room for what I feel, and then align with a vision or values of the person that I want to be and step into that like today. And it can be that fast.
It is, yeah.
We've proved it at the event. It is so fast. Like you
Yeah.
can go from there to there in like, you know.
I watched, because I watched you with one of the girls on stage and changed the whole trajectory of what she's doing. And just saw how...
her plan was what, a year?
Yeah, it was a year.
Her plan was a year.
And I think what you challenged for 2
and
or 3
I listen
months.
to, like, I'm quite intuitive when I'm coaching, and if my whole body is like whatever, like I was like, my whole body went stiff when she said a year. I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And we got it down to a month.
Oh wow, yeah. And then
like
just
that
seeing...
change of life can happen in 1 month.
Yeah.
And she would, but you know what? Like she was that addiction to busy that a lot of people have, because it's our sense of who we are. Then there's that vacuum of, because I created 6 hours of free time for her in a day, earning the same amount of income, only working like we got it to three times a week, not 3 days. And then you can almost see the, then what do I, and it's like, oh, you're going to have all this time to actually get to know yourself. And you can see the holy shit on her face. She can see her like, I won't know what to do with myself. Because she's been so busy serving others, but she also wants a relationship and she wants babies. And it's like, cool, if you keep over giving like that, how do you think that's going to look in a relationship? You can't stop and slow down.
Yeah.
You add a relationship and babies into this, and you overgive like that, you are going to fall down.
Yeah.
So, but it's sometimes we need to see it like what we did on stage. Like you look at it in black and white, and it shows people what they're about to live into. It's like you created this, and you're going to keep living into it.
Yeah.
So when you get to see the A/B version, they're like, there is no more excuses, because it's like, I just created 6 hours a day free time for you. Now what are you going to do? And they're like, oh. So it's fun, and this is what I mean about our retreats. Essentially, were always fun. We don't sit and rehash pain. You're allowed to tell your story a few times to me before you get here, but once you get here, we are in.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, I'm like, no. We have to get into action. Otherwise, you could just stay at home and do that with any psychologist who will allow you to do that for years.
Talk about your shit for ages and ages. So, I was wondering what you've, like, from all the people you've seen in that space of really low, what do you find are the most common reasons or blocks or...
Nobody likes themselves very much. So, something that I always explain very quickly. Okay, so there's about 5% of people that come in that genuinely have a genetic, chemical, DNA issue.
Yeah.
But only 5%. So, this excuse that we have where it's like, it's genetic, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
For 95% of the people, it's not. For most people, what they come in with is usually long-term stress, where something big that they didn't see coming has come in on top of that, and it's taken the wind out of them.
Yeah.
A lot of trauma.
Yeah.
A lot of trauma. A surprising amount, unfortunately. A lot of undealt with trauma. And we saw that at the event as well.
Yeah.
After Gabby kind of shared her story, you start to see how many people have been affected by trauma of some kind in their lives. So, however, the core behind all of that is that desire to be accepted, to do what we think we have to do to survive, to get that acceptance fed, because we really do believe if we don't get acceptance that we will die. We all think that we want love, we actually want acceptance. It is at the core of every single issue that anybody has. Fear of not being accepted. Rejection.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to be accepted.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'll look for it, and I'll put on this mask, and that mask, and this shirt, and we do all sorts of weird things.
So preoccupied by that, you know?
Exactly.
And you can't be in the present moment because you're like just thinking about, oh, what do I look like? But you know, it's...
And that's the thing, like that's one way of doing it. Some people are doing it to get fed, to get that acceptance fed in like so many extreme ways. And what the human mind does is every time you don't do that right, you have a go at yourself.
Yeah.
And then you create interesting stories about yourself that you keep repeating, and then they become beliefs.
Yeah.
And the reason it becomes a belief is because if you keep saying to yourself, I'm fat and I'm ugly, there's a horrible feeling of shame or a sensation in the body that comes with that, and we make it feel real.
Yeah, you don't
so
have
then
to
we
say
start
it.
to really own it.
Yeah.
And then, self-hatred starts to be bred through that. Because the more you put yourself down, the more you'll display the behavior that you don't want to display. You'll start living out your biggest fears.
Yeah.
And then you put yourself down. And that's how that spiral works. So for me, though, when people would come in with like really severe anxiety or depression, I have to just go back and find the seed thought. It's that simple. It's like there was, even if, yes, there was a trauma, it's what you made the trauma mean, and it's what you've been saying to yourself about that trauma for 20 years that's causing the issue, not the actual trauma.
Yeah.
Not to diminish whatever the trauma was, but it's like what you've made it mean all this time is where grief, suffering, and pain is living. So, desire for acceptance, that is like the one core thing that everyone is most definitely dealing with, 100%. And their fears around that. If I could just, it's self-hatred. If I could just be this, and self-punishment and putting ourselves down. And it's at an all-time high because we're not taught, like I said in school, we're not taught to deal with the mind, but we're also not taught to, well, in Australia, I don't know what it's like in New Zealand, but in Australia, there's a reason I don't live in that country. We're not taught to shine. We're taught the opposite. Taught to kind of
Top opposite.
To pull anyone down. So, I think, and we don't have a faith either. There's a lack of faith in culture now, really. There really is, compared to, 100 years ago. So, where do we get our sense of who we really are beyond what we look like, what we say, and what we do? Where are we getting that filled now? Like yoga, sure, in the last 20 years has exploded, great. But even we've made that about what you wear and what the pose looks like. And as a yoga teacher who was trained by very traditional masters, it's insulting. It's insulting the entire system. So, but this is the thing, it's like, when are we, touching that space where we check in with who we really are beyond what everyone knows us to be and sees us to be, and that's not happening enough. So the more there is a void there, we start to live out of this identity that we show to everyone and think that's who we really are, and that's where depression lives. That's where depression starts. Is a belief that this is all I am.
Yeah.
And anxiety is the terror or the fear of I want so desperately to be accepted. There is something coming that's going to threaten that, and I'm going to imagine it before it even happens. And I'm going to do that over and over and over again until it eventually blows.
I've got a lofty question.
Yeah.
Good question. What do you think it would take to get self-acceptance to the masses?
Heidi, Emil, and Chris on steroids. Like, we need to start training. Well, this is the thing. This is why I stepped out of retreat, because I was like, I can't do this one person at a time.
Yeah.
Now I take them because I still love it. I love getting into this space, and I learn every time.
Yeah.
When I'm just working with other coaches like I do with the boys, we don't learn as much, So, okay, so step one for me is corporates. I want to be able to get to the masses that way. I want to kind of go through a back door, and I can put on a suit. I've never worn one in my life. This is as corporate as it gets for me. But yeah, I can put that mask on. I can get myself through the door, and then that's always been my dream, is to get to the masses that way.
Cool.
Through technology, I have some great ideas of some sites. I have website build for fun. It's like how I relax.
What for yourself or other people? Or?
Both.
Wow.
I built a meal site.
Oh,
But
really?
I do it because I find it really relaxing, and I get to geek out. That's what I think Joel was saying about me. I'm a bit of a geek, so I get. So yeah, there's a couple of things that I'd like to build that could really be for the masses, and it's training other people and doing more events like we just did. Because and this is what I loved so much about retreat, is that every person that would leave retreat and go out into the world, they would the butterfly effect of that experience was massive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they would change their relationship with their husband. They would change their relationship with their children. They would start eating differently. Then they'd go to work with whatever they've made in their lunchbox. Then that someone else would ask them. And then they'd figure out that a co-worker had anxiety, and they'd help them with it, and they'd teach them some tools, and it would just keep on going. The emails that I would get sometimes 5 years, 6 years, 7 years later, still from people going, I just have to tell you, after 6 years, you know how I worked in the government? Well, now I'm a music conductor, and I create mental health programs and teach kids who've had trauma how to write their own music. And I'd just be like, what? Like crying, but you don't have to thank you. And I'd just be like, this is amazing. And it's years later, it keeps going.
Yeah.
So that one person is then gone and is affecting all these children. And so it's more people like all of us getting together.
Yeah.
And training and teaching and training and teaching, so that ripple effect can but I mean, Chris, Emil and I have a plan. I haven't gotten Joel on board yet, but we've been talking for a long time about how to do this in sort of the grandest possible way, and we're all kind of going to come from different angles.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you need it. Like,
yeah, we're definitely
package, right?
Yeah. So, that's why I love Chris's, his concept of like mediocre to greatness, sheep to line, because he literally, how Chris and I met is that I said the weirdest thing to him at a workshop one day. He said something about saving the whole world or something, and I went, it's too late. And I couldn't have said it to a worse person now that you've met him.
Yeah.
He just looked at me and he's like, really? And I was like, it's too late. And he's like, that is fucked. Like, he literally was like, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Let's have breakfast tomorrow. 6 hours later, we had a really long, beautiful breakfast where he shared that process, and I kind of shared mine, and we cross-coached each other, and have been like best friends ever since. But he, his concept, because I'd really gotten into that place of exhaustion. This is quite a while ago, like after the retreat, where I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. Like it was like 5 to 10 people a week, but I want to be doing 5 million a week. So yeah, that's the only way to kind of
sounds good.
Yeah. I guess technology, corporates, and a lot, being around a lot more like-minded people. You'll see it from Elevate. Wait and see the ripple effect from that event.
Oh man, I already know.
It's we just went like that. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like a wave of amazingness that will just keep going.
Yeah. I mean, how was this for Profound? It took me a year, or maybe just over a year, to get 10 podcast interviews for my last podcast, and now I've got 7 in 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's easy. And I'm also, while I'm here, I'm working on people.
And that's the thing, is it's like, it's not because we've taught you to hustle.
No, I want to. I love it.
We just removed the shit.
Yeah.
So I feel like gave you that whole, I love him. The bag of resentment.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're trying to create, but you're carrying this thing everywhere. I was just laughing because you can actually see it with people.
Yeah.
And that's all we did was go, we need to deal with that and put it over there and not hang out with it. This is the thing, is like saying on our retreat, I was like, when we're dealing with it, we're not hanging out with it and the pain forever. Like we bring it up, we resolve it, we transform it, we find a place to put it, we step into the greatest version, bang, off we go.
Yep.
And that's what you've done. So it becomes easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But someone had to remind you that you have the choice to do that whenever you want.
Yep.
And sometimes it takes like 4 days of just being smacked in the head. Like that was me at the last Elevate. Just getting smacked. Felt like someone had a bat out and was just going bang. And I'm a coach. Like I love that stuff. But I was like, oh my God, my whole life has to change. So imagine if it was like mandatory for everyone at school to go and do 2 events like that a year. Can you imagine?
Man, we'd have so many inspired kids.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, that'd be that'd be shining. Yeah.
Pretty amazing. So, and even, you know, with what I do, like teaching health and mental health, like in school, this is how your mind works. This is the concept of self-compassion and...
It's like dream school.
Dream school. We could have dream school, dream hospital. Yeah. But this is the thing, like, there's been all of these visionaries around, but it's not moving. It's not moving fast enough, that is for sure. We should make it a mission to get into,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Shake up the hospital system and the school system at the same time.
Well, the hospital system has its place. I think it's great what it does. We just need something else as well.
Yeah.
We need 2.
Yeah.
And they need to work together. And then, perfect. They're the bottom of the cliff. We need what happens after that though? You know, you're well enough to get by now. Let's give you something healthy to eat.
Yeah.
Let's give you the right thoughts and detox your body. Yeah. And then they're thriving. And then eventually you'll only have like 5% of people actually going to that crisis hospital.
I know.
And the rest of the people are getting like they're healthy, so they don't need to go, and less drugs, less surgery. Yeah.
That would be amazing. It will be amazing.
I was going to say, it will be amazing.
It's happening.
Yeah, I believe that. Anyway, I think it's been a great chat.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for making my cold go away.
Yeah, I just gave her a first experience of contact care.
Amazing.
She was like feeling all fluey, and I was like, I think I might be. I thought I could help her. So, yeah.
It feels really free as well, like at the back of my neck, and really,
so,
I'm not joking. I got like a high off it. It's very cool.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I'll be sharing that with a lot more people. So. And teaching it. Hopefully next year.
Great.
Yeah. So
it's an interesting technique, and I think we need more of those subtle. You know, the body is magical and special, and we don't realize sometimes the really subtle, small techniques is what creates the most healing. It doesn't have to be. Aggressive.
Yeah.
Like just breathing.
Yeah.
Properly. Water. Drinking water.
So, what's your retreat called? How can people... Oh, you're still doing them? No?
Yeah, so my site, heidishannon.com.au. That's the best way to find me. I was saying that to you before. I used to have like my business stuff over here and my retreats over here and then my coaching stuff here. And now I just put it all
easy.
Yeah.
Simple.
It's just my name.
All right, go to heidishannon.com.au.
Yeah.
And you'll find everything, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything.
Cool.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
So nice to chat.
Yeah. Thanks
I'm so
so
glad
much.
we did this.